Victor is a man of great wealth and influence. His fortune is built on years of hard work, clever investments, and an unshakable belief that money can solve any problem. People around him admire him for his success, but most are also aware that his generosity comes with a price. He expects admiration, loyalty, and, above all, respect in return for every act of kindness. To him, money is more than just currency, it is a tool that can manipulate the world and control the people in it. Victor enjoys the power his wealth gives him, and he is accustomed to getting whatever he desires. Whether it's fine wine, luxury cars, or the best seats in the most exclusive places, he knows he can always get what he wants with just a few words or a simple transaction. This confidence in his wealth shapes his interactions, and he's learned to expect that people will be easily won over by his affluence. One evening, while attending a high-profile event, Victor notices a woman across the room. Her name is Amara, and she stands apart from the other guests. While the rest of the crowd is enamored with the lavish displays of wealth and the extravagant environment, Amara is unmoved. She carries herself with an air of mystery and a sense of confidence that intrigues Victor immediately. Unlike other women who fawn over him and compliment him endlessly on his success, Amara's attention is neither given nor easily earned. Victor is immediately captivated by her aura, which is unlike anything he's ever encountered. He finds himself drawn to her, eager to learn more about her and, perhaps, win her over with the one thing he believes can conquer anyone: his wealth. Feeling the need to assert his charm, Victor approaches her with a smile, presenting himself as the confident, well-off man he is. He speaks with ease, telling her about the lavish lifestyle he leads, the luxury yachts he owns, and the exclusive experiences he can offer. Amara listens, but her expression is unreadable. She does not look at him with admiration or awe, which only serves to pique his curiosity further. Determined to impress her, Victor invites her to dinner at one of the finest restaurants in the city. He offers her a designer dress and a sparkling necklace, each more extravagant than the last. But Amara remains calm, unfazed by his show of wealth. There's a quiet, unspoken challenge in her demeanor, as if she's not impressed by anything he has to offer, something Victor isn't used to at all. Victor is taken aback but more intrigued than ever. In his world, money and power open every door, and the lack of a reaction from Amara begins to confuse and excite him in equal measure. There's a mystery to her, and Victor, driven by his own pride, is determined to uncover it. This is no ordinary woman, and for the first time in a long time, Victor feels like he's in uncharted territory. As their interaction ends, he finds himself thinking about her long after the event has finished. The sense of control he's always had over others seems to slip away, and for once, he realizes that there might be something beyond wealth that could command respect or admiration. He's certain now he must have her. As the days pass, Victor's obsession with Amara grows. He can't stop thinking about their encounter, and he is determined to win her over, believing that his wealth will eventually break through her seemingly impenetrable walls. His pride has been stung, and he sees her indifference as a challenge, one that he is more than capable of overcoming. Victor is used to getting what he wants with the stroke of a check, and he intends to use that power to win Amara's affection. He begins to shower her with lavish gifts, jewelry, designer clothing, and exotic trips to the most exclusive destinations. He arranges private dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants, and he brings her roses flown in from the farthest corners of the world. He even offers her access to his private yacht and the best seats at the most sought-after events. Yet, despite his extravagant gestures, Amara remains calm, polite, and somewhat distant. While the other women in Victor's life would have been thrilled with such attention, Amara never seems overly impressed. She accepts the gifts with grace, but there's no spark in her eyes. She doesn't fawn over him or express gratitude in the way he's accustomed to. She's not cold or rude, but there's always an emotional distance between them, as though a veil hangs between them that Victor cannot pierce. Amara's elusive nature only fuels Victor's desire to conquer her. He begins to convince himself that her lack of enthusiasm is merely a test, that she's waiting for him to prove just how far he's willing to go. Perhaps she simply doesn't realize the magnitude of what he can offer. So, he escalates his efforts. He buys her even more luxurious gifts, organizing grand surprises and throwing lavish parties in her honor. He goes out of his way to show her how much he is willing to give, how much he is willing to sacrifice for her affection. Despite all his efforts, something begins to shift in Amara. She accepts his offerings with a quiet acknowledgement but says little. She's polite but distant, and her gaze is sometimes unfocused, as if she's not entirely present in their interactions. There are moments when she seems almost detached. When Victor asks her about her thoughts on the grand gestures he's making, she responds in an almost indifferent manner, as if she's not moved by the things that so clearly excite him. One evening, as they dine in a luxurious penthouse overlooking the city skyline, Amara gently places her wineglass down and speaks for the first time in a way that Victor isn't prepared for. She tells him that material things are not what she values. While she appreciates the gifts, she emphasizes that she believes true connection is built on understanding, trust, and mutual respect, things that can't be bought with wealth. Her words are subtle, but they land like a sharp blow. For a moment, Victor is silent, unsure how to respond. He's accustomed to women swooning over him, and he's never had anyone question the power of his money. But Amara's tone is calm, measured, and honest, a stark contrast to the way others speak to him. Her words ring in his mind long after dinner has ended. This marks a subtle shift in their relationship. While he still believes he can win her over with enough material wealth, Amara begins to subtly show her dissatisfaction with the surface-level nature of their interactions. Her indifference to his wealth makes him feel like he's chasing something he can't control. Despite his increasing efforts to impress her, Victor realizes that no matter how much he gives, he cannot seem to penetrate the deeper layers of who Amara really is. Amara, on the other hand, seems increasingly weary of the lavish lifestyle Victor is offering, and she starts to withdraw even more emotionally. The more he tries to draw her in with material gifts, the more she seems to retreat, leaving Victor wondering what it is that he's missing. In his mind, the problem is simple: she just needs more. More gifts, more attention, more of everything he has to offer. But as time passes, he starts to notice that this strategy may not be as effective as he once believed. As the weeks pass, Amara's behavior begins to change in subtle but noticeable ways. While she had once been indifferent to Victor's gifts, she now starts to make small requests, always phrased delicately but unmistakably clear. She asks for finer jewelry, rare designer items, and experiences that no ordinary person could afford. She never demands outright, but her subtle hints are enough to catch Victor's attention. At first, Victor sees these requests as mere signs of her growing comfort with him. He tells himself that this is a natural progression in any relationship. After all, he is accustomed to women desiring the luxuries he can provide. He believes that this is how she will finally warm to him, how she will finally appreciate all that he has to offer. He doesn't question her intentions, convinced that giving her what she asks for will be the key to winning her love and trust. Amara's requests become bolder as time goes on. A private jet to an exotic island for a weekend getaway, a rare diamond ring that costs more than his last 3 investments combined, tickets to an exclusive gala where only the world's elite gather. With every new gift, Victor feels a small sense of pride. After all, he's giving her what she wants. He convinces himself that if he just keeps up with her desires, she will open up, and they will finally form the deeper bond he's been longing for. But as he continues to indulge her, something begins to shift within Victor. He starts to feel an increasing sense of unease, though he can't quite put his finger on why. Despite giving Amara everything she asks for, his time, his money, his resources, there's no emotional connection forming between them. The affection he hoped would grow from his generosity seems to be lacking, and instead of feeling closer to her, he starts to feel more distant. Amara, once elusive but now seemingly eager to accept his gifts, remains emotionally withdrawn. Every gift he buys her, every luxury he provides, seems to go unnoticed in terms of the deep emotional bond he yearns for. She doesn't engage in deep conversations with him, nor does she share more about her life or her feelings. She continues to be polite and gracious, but there's no warmth in her responses. At times, she even seems to show more interest in the gifts themselves than in Victor's presence. Victor feels an uncomfortable nagging at the back of his mind. He begins to suspect that something is amiss, but he refuses to confront the truth. Instead, he pushes these feelings aside, convincing himself that this is just part of the game. After all, he's used to people liking him for what he can give them. He tells himself that the deeper connection he wants will come with more time, more gifts, and more attention. But as the months go by, his discontent grows. Victor realizes that his efforts aren't having the desired effect. He starts to feel like an ATM rather than a partner. The lavish dinners, the exclusive trips, the endless displays of wealth, none of it seems to bring him any closer to Amara. Instead of feeling appreciated, he feels more like an object being used to fulfill her desires. Still, he ignores the warning signs, caught up in his belief that he simply needs to try harder. After all, she hasn't outright rejected him, so he believes there's still hope. Perhaps he just hasn't done enough yet. He convinces himself that this is what it takes to win someone like her, someone who doesn't seem to value anything but the material world. What Victor doesn't realize is that Amara has been playing her own game all along. Each new gift, each extravagant experience she requests, is part of a carefully planned strategy. She is testing him, pushing him to see how far he will go, how much he will give without ever asking for anything in return. And all the while, she remains emotionally distant, not because she doesn't appreciate the gifts, but because she's already won. She doesn't need to care for him the way he hopes she will. She knows that Victor will continue to give without question, that his obsession with winning her over will ensure he remains under her control. Victor's indulgence in Amara's desires, while it appears to be a means of drawing her closer, is, in fact, pushing them further apart. He is blind to the fact that this is not about love, but about manipulation. She isn't trying to connect with him, she is taking full advantage of the wealth and power he believes will win her affection. As the relationship progresses, Victor's feelings of unease become harder to ignore. What once seemed like a game he could easily win has slowly turned into something far more complicated. For the first time, he begins to suspect that something isn't right, that Amara may not be the person she appears to be. But he's invested so much time and energy into this relationship, and his pride refuses to let him walk away. After all, he's been successful in every area of his life, surely he can navigate this and come out on top. Amara's subtle manipulations, which had once been masked by polite gestures and indifference, now start to surface more clearly. She has been playing a long game, and Victor is only now beginning to understand the depth of her strategy. She never cared about his affection or companionship, she simply saw an opportunity to exploit his obsession with wealth. One evening, as they share a quiet dinner, Amara's requests take a more serious turn. Instead of the usual luxurious gifts, she begins asking for larger sums of money, amounts that are far beyond the gifts of jewelry or experiences she had requested before. She suggests investment opportunities, business ventures that are high risk but high reward, and presents them with an air of confidence, as though she knows exactly what will entice him. She talks about ventures that promise enormous returns, but only if he's willing to commit significant amounts of money. At first, Victor is hesitant. He's a smart businessman, after all. He knows that some investments are risky and require a keen understanding of the market. But Amara is persistent, making these ventures seem like golden opportunities that will secure his place in the world forever. She spins a story of future wealth and success, painting a picture that aligns perfectly with his own ambitions. He's flattered that she thinks so highly of his financial acumen and believes in his ability to succeed. With his ego stroked and his desire to impress her growing stronger, Victor agrees to invest. What he doesn't realize is that Amara has already calculated the outcome. She knows the ventures are doomed to fail, and she knows that Victor, driven by his obsession to win her over, will dive in headfirst without questioning her motives. The money starts flowing out of his accounts, and soon, he finds himself sinking deeper into risky investments. These ventures don't bring in the returns she promised. In fact, they begin to drain his resources at an alarming rate. Victor, blinded by his desire to please Amara, refuses to admit that he's being played. He continues to pour more money into the projects, thinking that one last investment will turn things around. After all, this is what she wanted. And if he can just deliver the success she dreams of, surely she will return his affection. But as his funds dwindle and the business ventures fail, Victor begins to feel the weight of his decisions. The lifestyle he once enjoyed, the yachts, the private jets, the luxurious dinners, starts slipping through his fingers. At first, he tries to keep up appearances, maintaining his facade of wealth and success. But the cracks are starting to show. His investments are failing, his bank accounts are dwindling, and the stress of his mounting financial problems begins to take its toll. It is only then that the truth begins to hit him. money cannot buy her love. For the first time, he realizes that all the wealth in the world, the very thing that he had believed would win her heart and secure their future, has been completely ineffective. She never cared about his money, never cared about the lavish gifts or the status he offered. She only cared about what he could give her, and now, she has taken everything she wanted and more. Victor's realization is a crushing blow to his ego. For so long, he thought that his wealth could shield him from the vulnerabilities of the heart, that his power could overcome anything. But Amara has exposed the fatal flaw in his thinking: true love, trust, and respect cannot be bought. The deeper connection he had hoped for was never going to materialize, because it was never the goal. However, by the time this revelation hits him, it may be too late. His financial resources have been drained, his once unstoppable empire is crumbling, and Amara's emotional distance has turned into cold indifference. Victor stands at the edge of losing everything, but the real loss isn't his wealth, it's his realization that he was never in control of this situation, and that his obsession with material success has left him empty and vulnerable. As Victor's financial world collapses, Amara begins to distance herself emotionally. What had once been a polite detachment slowly turns into cold indifference. She becomes increasingly absent, canceling plans, avoiding conversations, and showing little interest in the man who once lavished her with everything. The emotional distance grows until it becomes clear to Victor that she's no longer pretending to care. In the background, Amara quietly begins to remove herself from Victor's life entirely. She starts taking everything she has accumulated, not just the gifts, but also his money, his assets, and his social connections. She uses the power she gained through her manipulation of his wealth to sever ties, leaving him with nothing but a hollow echo of the life he once led. She moves on with ease, while Victor is left to deal with the wreckage of his shattered empire. As he loses everything, his fortune, his status, and, most painfully, his self-respect, Victor has a painful epiphany. He realizes that his obsession with money and material things had blinded him to the true meaning of love, trust, and human connection. All the wealth in the world could never replace the genuine bonds he failed to build, and now, as he stands alone, he understands that it was never about the gifts he gave, but the sincerity and emotional connection he neglected in the pursuit of power. In the end, Victor is left with nothing. His wealth, status, and material possessions have all vanished, taken by Amara, who once seemed distant but has now completely walked away with everything he thought he owned. As he stands alone, facing the aftermath of his decisions, Victor is forced to confront the painful truth: his reliance on money and power to form relationships has left him isolated and empty. He reflects on his past choices, realizing that true love, trust, and meaningful connections cannot be bought. Money, while powerful, cannot replace the depth of genuine human relationships. Victor now understands the hollowness of his former pursuits and the mistakes he made in ignoring the value of emotional bonds over material wealth. This moment of clarity marks the beginning of his long journey of self-reflection and growth. He knows that rebuilding his life will require more than just financial success. It will require him to change his values and understand what truly matters in life.